Hey everyone, today I want to take a look at a great little game by the name of Breachway. Back around the time of Steam Next Fest, my friends at Hooded Horse contacted me with a key for the demo of the game. Now unfortunately, at the time, my schedule didn't allow me to cover it, and this has been happening for a while. I've received a few different keys from publishers that I've just been too busy to make a video on. Real life was super hectic last year, but I'm trying to make focusing on content a priority again. And I do want to cover most of these games in time. Now, as for Breachway, I'm planning for this video to be released a few days before Breachway's official launch into early access, so I figure now's a perfect time to take a look at this game. And the usual disclaimer applies, this is not a sponsored video, and no money or any other goods have traded hands apart from the Steam key I was provided. I will also say a public demo of the game is available on the Steam store page right now, so you can check out the game for free before you decide if you want to purchase or not. I'm not sure if there's any difference between the version of the demo that I'm playing and the public version, but either way, I'll leave a link to the Steam page in the video description so that you can check it out if you want to. So what exactly is Breachway? The developers describe it as a deck-building sci-fi roguelike. And the basic premise is that we kit out our spaceship with the coolest gear and abilities that we can, and we go and battle other ships in turn-based combat as we make our way across the galaxy. And the card system does remind me a bit of Midnight Suns, just thankfully without all of the Disney cringe attached to it. Now the demo features a lengthy tutorial that will be a great help with learning the game's mechanics, and this tutorial gives us some story background. We're space venturers on a scavenging mission to find and obtain pretty much anything we can that might be valuable. We take control of a small vessel named the Magpie, and immediately this is a red flag for me. For those of you fortunate enough to not live in Australia, magpies are genuinely my most hated animal in the universe. Yeah, not even on the planet, in the universe. Now, thankfully, we're a magpie in name only, and none of those evil little mongrels are anywhere to be found in the game. We have a star map that we have to work our way across, we make a series of jumps, and each time we stop, some sort of event will occur. Now, these events can take on several different forms. The main one is battles, so I'm going to skip the first few of them and jump straight to this one. And you'll see in the bottom left-ish corner of the screen, we have 3 resources to manage. Ordnance is orange and focuses on dealing damage to the enemy. Green is energy, and it's about buffing your own ship's abilities, including shields to block damage. And the blue is mass, which doesn't seem to do much on its own, but some cards will consume it when played. And the first couple of battles don't utilize all 3 resources, it actually introduces them one at a time across the first 3 battles. And the game does a good job at adding a new mechanic with each new battle in the tutorial. It really helps the player avoid becoming overwhelmed. And next to our resources are the cards that we can play. Now we've only got 3 at a time here to work with, but as you add more systems to your ship, you'll draw more cards that you can hold at once. That gives you more options to work with. And you can play as many cards as you have in your hand each turn, but most of them have a resource cost to play, and you can see that demonstrated on the card itself. So you're limited by the resources that you have available. And you will regain some resources automatically each turn, so you obviously need to keep your card plays and resources in balance. That's going to be really important for being successful in this game. And there is quite a bit of strategy involved here. Like for example, a shield card won't last forever, usually only lasts a couple of turns. So you need to think about not only what cards are you going to keep at the end of your turn and what ones are you going to recycle back into the deck, but also for the cards that you are going to play, when are you going to play them? That's going to be just as important of a decision as what card you actually use. use the right card but at the wrong time, and that's going to really limit its effectiveness. Now, as far as the enemies go, they use a bit of a different system. They don't use cards, they have all their abilities listed in the top right-hand side of the screen. And each ability will have a certain number of bars. The opponent will gain 1 bar each turn, and once all the bars are filled, they can use that attack. And the really scary thing here is that there seems to be no limit on this. If they have 4 different attacks that all fill up on the same turn, they can use all 4 of them against you at the same time. Now, to counter this, some cards that we get will let us target specific enemy systems, and if we inflict enough damage on that system, it will disable the associated ability. But you do need to be careful, the opponent will be able to repair the system once enough turns have passed. So that's the basic premise of the game. It's nothing super complex, it's just you trying to build the best ship with the best cards you can and battling against other ships. When you win an encounter, you'll usually gain some credits that you can spend upgrading your ship, and you'll be able to add a new card to your deck. You might not always want to do this though. Sometimes the cards that you get, you might not think are that useful, and it might be better to have less cards because then you're more likely to draw the ones you want. So even that is a decision that you need to think about. And also, if you're lucky, after a battle there might be a new part that you can install on your ship and give yourself some new abilities. So that's the tactical layer, I guess. On what is the strategic layer, let's call it the space exploration layer. You can edit your ship's crew and equipment. And the crewmates give you unique abilities that you can use in battle independently of your cards. And they're often really strong. Things like 50% extra damage on the next attack, or free resources to allow you to play more cards. So I think it is going to be tough deciding who to let aboard your vessel once you've unlocked more crew members. Because yeah, these abilities, they are good to have. You'll also occasionally get to make a story decision. These can affect your standing with other factions, your crew's morale, and more morale means more points to use crew abilities in combat. And sometimes these choices might even see you collecting loot or your ship taking damage. And what I will say about the tutorial is it is very dialogue heavy, and there's no voice acting, so it's a lot of reading Pokemon style. Just to put it into perspective, the tutorial section took us over an hour on stream. And I think I'd honestly like it more if there was less story and the game just let us jump into some battles. That's the main thing I'm here for. Now that being said, I think the idea is you play the tutorial once and then you're not going to really do it again, so the fact that it is lengthy isn't too big of a problem. Now eventually we do make it through the tutorial and the main game opens up. Now the basic premise is that during our scavenging in the tutorial, we've come across a valuable artifact. And the game does suggest aliens could be involved, so I hope that's something that makes it into the main game. Aliens are always really cool. But for right now, our mission is to smuggle this artifact out of the system and not be blown into pieces while we do it. So to aid us with this task, we're given a new ship, and that means no more Magpie. Currently, only one ship is available to us, the Arbalest. I'm probably butchering that, but there are others that can be unlocked. There's a few here right now. I'm guessing more ships are going to be added in the full game, but that is just my speculation. And now you can see the space exploration layer proper. A lot of different paths for us to take. The different factions are in the top right, and depending on how much they like us or dislike us, that can affect how some story events play out. And I should say at this point, I haven't mentioned it, but I love the visual style. The cel-shaded graphics look really nice, the ship designs are cool, and I love the empty, endless feeling of space. So the overall setting is right up my alley. And the music is also really nice. It has that Mass Effect style combination of sci-fi and ambience, and it's just awesome. And speaking of Mass Effect, we get approached by this data broker who kind of looks like an Asari, maybe. I'm guessing this was a deliberate homage. And look, the first 2 Mass Effect games are some of my favourites of all time, so I'm down with this, just as long as we can pretend the 3rd game doesn't exist. So our friend, who is most definitely not named Liara, has given us a bonus objective: to take on 2 elite ships. So we can choose the path we take through the system, but on the blue path, there's no backtracking allowed. So we do want to plan out our journey, and of course that's not always easy to do since you don't know what events there are that are out there waiting for you. It could be a repair ship offering to restore HP to your hull, or it could be a bunch of psychopaths looking to eradicate you from existence. Now thankfully the elite ships do display on the map, so we can at least plan a path through 2 of them if we want to complete this secondary objective we've been given. And we definitely do, because by this point the regular ships that were coming across, I was wiping them out pretty easily. The elite ships though, they're pretty dangerous. Get it? Elite? Dangerous? Yeah, okay, never mind. The strategy I went with involved having a lot of attacking cards in the deck as well as resource gathering cards. This allowed us to just keep attacking and disabling the enemy systems. And if the enemy can't attack, they can't damage us. So having less cards focused on protection like shields wasn't too big of an issue for me, at least not at this stage. After the battle with the second elite ship though, really just due to attrition, our hull is really low on HP. And short of coming across a random repair ship, I don't actually know how to fix it. And here I encounter a problem. For some reason, we're not able to travel across onto this secondary path. I have no idea why. Like on the blue path we can't travel backwards, but I thought on the secondary path we could travel whichever way we wanted. And we could do it before just fine. I think it's something to do with this red icon here. Maybe we're out of fuel or something, so we can only stay on the main path. I'm not sure. But what I am sure about is that we are in big trouble. Our hull is down to 13 HP out of 50, and we have to beat the boss before we can exit the system. And so you're probably thinking, how much HP does the boss's hull have? 75. 13 HP versus 75. And look at all the abilities this thing has. 5 of them. And 4 of them are attacks. So we're potentially looking at 4 attacks hitting us in 1 turn. This is not good. Now we do actually hang on for quite a while though, and that did surprise me. We get this thing down to 27 HP before it finally destroys us. And honestly, I'm happy with that. I was expecting to get wiped out in the first turn. So the fact that we took the opponent down below 50 HP, I think that's a great result. Obviously not great enough though, we do lose this exchange. And so what does that mean? Well, it means it's game over. Yeah, there's no reloading here. It's permanent Iron Man mode. The game autosaves, and as far as I know, you cannot ever manually save yourself. Now, I'm not sure I've even played a roguelike before this one, so this was a mechanic that was kind of new to me. And I gotta say, being perfectly honest, I'm not that much of a fan of it. Being unable to autosave leaves the player really vulnerable to glitches and game crashes. Just look at XCOM and Iron Man mode. So hopefully Breachway has been thoroughly QA tested and the players aren't going to have any issues around that. Now the good news is we can skip the tutorial and jump straight back into the meat of the game. And given the locked ships and crew members, I'm guessing unlocking these things helps with replayability. It seems like we won't always have to start a new game with the same stuff, so that's really cool. Now by this point, I'd been playing the demo for about 2 hours, and it kind of felt like I had seen what the game has to offer. As I said, I think this is the first roguelike I've ever played, so my experience is pretty limited. I can't really compare this to other similar games, but what I can say is that I had a really fun time playing this. The gameplay loop is really enjoyable, and the presentation, I found it just speaks to me. I love the setting, I love the artwork, I love the sound. It's just really, really good. Now, as I'm recording this script, the price of the game isn't actually available on Steam, at least not in my region. And of course, we don't know how much content the game will have when it releases in that initial early access. So I can't really comment on whether it'll be worth the money or not, but what I can say is that I think the free demo is definitely worth checking out, and it should help you make up your mind if this game is for you or not. In terms of the game after release, you can see on screen what the devs are promising in the early access version of the game. More ships, more gear, more environments, and more mission types. And those all sound like the right things to be focusing attention on to me. It's stuff that's going to add replayability to the game. So it sounds promising, and I'm really curious to see where this one goes. For now though, that's going to do it from me. I know, not quite as long as some of my videos, but honestly, I do enjoy making these shorter ones. It allows me to keep putting out content regularly between the bigger projects that I'm working on. And hopefully that's good for you guys because it means more content, but it's also good for me. It helps me feel like I'm making progress and achieving goals, and it's a really nice feeling. So if you did like this video, please consider the usual things of leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing. It helps out the channel a lot. And I've got a Patreon where you can support for a few bucks a month and get early access to videos just like this one. A link is in the description if you're interested. And yeah, that's about it from me. So thank you very much for watching this one. I hope you'll join me next time. And until then, have a great day.